ethics and business. Just a little bit about him. He got his graduate degree from Tulsa, BA in history. He got his doctorate law degree from Tulsa as well. From there, he was an executive director of Council of Government in his home state. He was also the chief legislative assistant for a U.S. senator. There, he's moved to Walgreens, where he was a director of government and community relations with some legal counsel for 30 years. And currently, he's working as president of Spectral Digital, which is a medical diagnostics company. So I'll just let him take it away.
Thank you. Let's see if I can find a place here where we're not going to get feedback. Looks like I'm stuck back here. Okay, this is where I'm going to stand. It's interesting. 4 years ago, when I retired from Walgreens, my family and I moved to Fort Collins. And that's a funny and interesting story, but it turned out to be a great place. It brought me back into contact with university life for the first time since literally 1968. Law school isn't like a university. So if you're thinking about it, if you're going on to law school somewhere, get ready for a big change. Anyway, but it made me think about my college career. I'll tell you a little anecdotal story, a true story. Back when I went to college, we were still in what was called the tweed era. In other words, all the professors dressed in tweed. So it was like when you got your degree, got your doctorate. I think that's fine. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Sounds like a Verizon commercial. The professors were issued a tweed suit and a pipe. And if you were a woman, you got a tweed suit and a tweed skirt. Women didn't wear pants at that time. And they got a cigarette holder. So one day in an English literature class that I was taking, it was an evening class, it was kind of warm, it was a big lecture room. Professor Smith, that wasn't a real name, had her tweed suit on, tweed skirt, and she was lecturing away on Shakespeare or something like that. And she got hot, and she unbuttoned her sport coat and took it off. She forgot to put a blouse on that evening. So for a few minutes, we're all sitting there going, and suddenly she got cold and looked down. And so there she was in her bra and her tweed skirt. So that's one of my memories of undergraduate school. I'm going to do a bit of a disclaimer. Much of what I'm going to talk about here, unless there's some time left at the end to talk about political corruption, is corporate responsibility, and it relates to things that I was involved with at Walgreens in Chicago during the 30 years that I was there. I was very fortunate to come to the company and see it grow from about 800 stores to over 5,000. It was an amazing period, and we did some amazing things. And we've talked about ethics all morning. You've heard from CPAs and attorneys, and yes, I am an attorney, but I really never practiced law. So most of what I'm going to talk about is more practical experience, and to try to generate some thinking among you. This is not a sales pitch to go to work for Walgreens. It is just a good basis to relate some practical corporate responsibility issues to you as students who will soon become part of the big or small companies. Earlier this morning, I heard a group talking about how you develop your sense of responsibility and ethics. And one of my first experiences when I was working for the Council of Governments out in northwestern Oklahoma was a situation where a group of farmers of a certain religious affiliation decided that they could no longer put their money in a bank and earn interest. And this was at a time there were still a lot of community banks, and they went to this group of farmers who were very successful, went to this banker and said, "Sir, we're going to have to take all our money out of your bank," banker, because we can't earn interest on it. So the banker, who I knew, called me and said, "Would you come to this meeting and see if we can figure out something?" And so I got a chance to go to a meeting which I would probably have never experienced in my life, and listen to the presentation, listen to the banker, and he was thinking all along. Now, if you were a banker and your major depositors were going to take all their money out of your bank because they couldn't earn interest, what would you do? Any hands? Yes, sir. That's right. First step. So it said to the people, he thought of this himself, he died, he didn't ask me. He said, okay, what if I don't accrue any interest on your account? You know, all the farmers sat there and the minister sat there and thought about it. It's okay, that works. That works for us. We'll keep your money in your bank. Now, the most interesting part of this story is not about the farmers and their interest, but what do you think the banker did on his own? He thought about this long and hard at night. I think somebody talked to his wife. He later came and told me. I didn't know about it at the time. He took that interest that he actually accrued on the account, didn't account for it in the farmer's accounts. He took that and donated that back to this particular religious organization's charity. And I always sort of, you know, he didn't have to do it. He could have just let it sit there and been happy and used that as collateral. But it started me thinking now for the next 40 years about what decision-making is all about, what corporate responsibility is all about. So I know this is an extra credit class, so I think it's something like that, right? Yeah. Get some extra credit for being here. Got to sign in, please, everybody sign in. I'm going to show you a little bit of a movie. Has everyone here seen the movie Radio about the true story about the young man in Anderson, South Carolina, who became part of the football team, the high school, etc.? There's a little snippet in here, and I'll relate this to something else that I'm going to talk about in a minute that I want you to listen to. We may have to, I'll turn my mic off if we turn the volume up.
Try to it again.
Well, he may not get everything I try to teach him. Now the hospital's got me working 16 straight, right through Christmas Day. Just tonight I get a little bit of holiday with my boy.
Good.
You know, Coach, it wasn't that long ago. I see you drive up in that truck of yours and be wondering why you're doing what you're doing. So why are you doing what you're doing?
I figure it's the right thing to do.
But there's a whole lot out there that's right. Don't mean we always do it.
No, ma'am, it doesn't.
Back in 1995, and I'll play a little more video for you in a moment, Walgreens was opening distribution centers approximately once every 18 months. We were operating at a pace of about 400 new store openings a year. And our vice president for distribution, a fellow named Randy Lewis, who we'll see in a minute, who has a son with severe autism, began talking within our company about what we could do for people who potentially would have really no future because they couldn't find a job because the workplace didn't provide for them. And this is a very important story to me because I have children who have special skills myself, and it's something I was concerned about. So Randy and I started talking, and we said we've got some criteria for these distribution centers, right? You've got to be close to an interstate highway, because most of the retailing runs on truck traffic. And you also need a place that the tax system doesn't tax what's inside your distribution center. Probably something you've never thought about when you count business, or something that you're going to learn about. Those are big decisions. But distribution sit there for 20 or 30 years, and every year the state's taxing what's inside of it is going to cost us a lot of money. But thirdly, we decided we were going to build a distribution center at all major distribution centers that would accommodate themselves and special needs. And our goal at that time was to create at least 30% of the jobs, about 800, who could be managed and handled by these individuals. So we get to look all over the southeast part of the United States for a location like that. Low taxes, good interstate connection, and a place that had developed a group of people, especially who could get to our workplace. And we settled on Anderson, South Carolina, and I know it's partly because of their experience with radio. Now, I want to see if I can get the system back on and show you what happened.
A series of reports on what works, a story about those among us with special needs, people with drive and ability who are seldom able to find a good job. A national employer with a big name is out to change that. Our What Works report tonight from NBC's Mika Brzezinski.
For Julia Turner, born with Down syndrome, a full-time job might seem out of reach, but not here.
I have found what I want, and I'm satisfied.
Reports on What Works, a story about those among us with special needs, people with drive and ability who are seldom able to find a good job. A national employer with a big name is out to change that. Our What Works report tonight from NBC's Mika Brzezinski.
For Julia Turner, born with Down syndrome, a full-time job might seem out of reach, but not here.
I have found what I want, and I'm satisfied.
At this new Walgreens distribution center, Julia thrives. So does Tommy Watson. Asperger's syndrome makes him developmentally disabled in some ways, but when it comes to computers, if there's a problem, who do they call?
Calling me. That's amazing.
Walgreens has tapped into the talents of a segment of the population that often struggles to find work.
It's what you do, breathes life into it all.
It was Company Vice President Randy Lewis's idea. His son Austin has autism.
Austin's gift to me was to look past the disability and see a person.
And here, Lewis has hired many people. More than 40% of the workers at this warehouse have a disability. The building is designed to accommodate just about anyone with touchscreens and flexible workstations.
Everybody comes in, everybody works side by side. Same pay,
Playing fields.
same job, same performance.
And this setup is also good for business. This distribution center is 20% more efficient than any in the entire company. That's why other companies are now looking at the Walgreens model. one that's faster and easier to use. And the payback goes far beyond profitability, because Lewis knows firsthand the questions that haunt parents of the disabled.
Is that a good plan for you? Of course. What would happen after I'm gone? Can I live that one day longer than my child?
For Tommy Watson's mother, Diane, that question is now answered.
I don't have to have that worry anymore. He's going to be taken care of here as long as he performs his job and does his best for Walgreens. He's got a home.
A home for Tommy and Julia.
Hello, Julia.
Because now,
You have a good day. I had a wonderful day.
just about anyone can fit into the Walgreens workforce. Mika Brzezinski, NBC News, Anderson, South Carolina.
Tonight, as part of our series,
Essentially by taking the factors and putting them together and saying, if Walgreens can't do it, who else will? We created a distribution system. This is one of the last projects I worked on before I retired in 2005. Since that time, the distribution center in Connecticut has opened, and it is equally as successful in the distribution center. Let's see if we can turn it around. Equally successful distribution center, and employs about 300 of the 800 people with special needs. And what we also did, taking this whole process through, is we went to engineering universities around the United States and in Europe, and designed pieces of equipment, workstations, so that literally, as Randy mentioned, anyone, that is not something that's so that you're going to be able to use. But it's a question of knowing and thinking of what our responsibility and what do we do with it. Do we make a profit for the company, make a profit for the shareholders, most importantly, probably, and build goodwill and serve being a retailer. That's eminently important. Where did that whole corporate philosophy come from? Well, it started in 1901 when the original Mr. Walgreens opened his first store in South Chicago. One store, and it took him another 17 years before it opened forces, so he had some things to go through. But he would plot out the first thing he did, he decided, well, besides running a drugstore, I'm going to provide lunches. Southside Chicago was built construction all over the place. So what he'd do is people would call in on the telephone at random conventions at the time, and they would give him an order for a bag of sandwiches. What he would do is repeat that order very loudly so his wife, made the sandwiches very quickly, and the bicycle and delivery boy, and literally by the time the customer was through talking, the boy was out the door and he would say, Steph, your sandwiches are on the way. Run that forward to the Great Depression. Terrible times all over the United States. Something that I hope none of us ever have to imagine. It's living through very, very difficult times now. Not only did Mr. Walgreens ever lay into an office, he started to do things unique, a lot of them which are still unique in the world. The first thing he started was a profit sharing program. I can't say that that was the first, but one of the first ones. And secondly, he set up what is called the Walgreens Benefits Trust, a foundation endowed by himself to provide assistance to employees who found themselves in distress situations, people losing their homes, people, children in special needs. That's always a problem. It's very expensive to go through these things. People who have fallen in hard times, living through a flood, a hurricane, a tornado. And going all the way up to today, that benefit fund has maxed out thousands and thousands of simple, sad situation. One of the cases that people involved with for a long time was a murder. And for corporations, they don't have time to do the no, the workers are murdered. Something we don't talk about, it happens. This particular young woman had a child. No living relatives who can identify the area. So with the benefit fund, obviously we began to set up a system to temporarily support this child. We didn't know what we were going to do. That was, we were working with the state authorities actually right there in Colorado. Finally, through a lot of research, we did find a grandmother living in another state who had not been estranged, but was not familiar with the grandmother's situation. She took that child, set up what was like the home get started. And as far as I know, where the child was from now, and I have full faith that it's successful life. But again, these things can perpetuate themselves. Stay in touch with them. A couple of years later, they caught the murder down in Florida. And he confessed to all these murders, including this one in Colorado. Now, it happened that it was a very poor county here in Colorado, not the Monfort, really, they did not have the money to exercise. So again, the Walgreens benefit fund came in and didn't have a responsibility for it. And we paid to have that individual brought back, prosecution brought back. So that's kind of how is that step-by-step experience now over 100 years built into the corporation. How did we start? We started with small things. Moving ahead, step by step. I'll show you another example. This is the video. Let's skip over the other video. Another project that I've sort of stayed close to. As many of you know, in large cities like Chicago, there are neighborhoods that are taken over by gangs. And a lot of drug trafficking going on. The chairman of our company at that time, Dan George, who's also now retired, had gone to school on the north side of Chicago. And his old high school is called Thomas. It's in the here in Chicago. They probably know it and be familiar with this. The high school had been taken over. So Dan, who came up to Walgreens, worked there for 40 years, had this spirit of responsibility built into his sort of ethics. And I'll tell you another story about how this developed and how it's based. He said, I have to do something. My old high school was in terrible condition. I love my teachers there. My dad was a football coach. So he and his wife decided to give $1 million to public high school, working with a new principal that agreed to kick out the gangs, kick out the drugs, turn the school around. And what Dan did is explain in the next couple of slides. This is a picture of Dan and Mary George. They're sitting down. This is a facsimile of $1 million check, and the principal is right behind me. So, what's unique about this is he just didn't give the $1 million to the school to build a new wing or read in the classroom. What he did, I don't know if you can read this. He set up what's called the Joy of Learning, Joy of Teaching Foundation. And in that foundation, students would be picked from the school and they would each receive $5,000 scholarship. But also, every year, a group of 5 would be selected. And they would also get a scholarship reward incentives for innovating in the high school. And then another amount of money was actually given to the high school. Now it's up to 7 students, 7 teachers, give more each year. But also, another little twist, Dan wasn't he wasn't just the C and B. He said, what we have to do in this scholarship program is also make sure that the average, some representation, average student within this group of scholarships. So the student body not only selects the top 6 students, they also always pick out one more that really represents the spirit of the whole school, regardless of grades or anything else. And that person is well, what happened? The school has been run by the gang, center for drugs in the neighborhood. Now it's an international baccalaureate high school. We don't know what they are familiar with that. But essentially, if you graduate from an IB high school, pass the test, in most states you get 2 full years of college credit. Pretty amazing. One of my children who's one of the test specialties is in an IB high school. I'm amazed at what these do. I didn't even do the rest of the college. So again, it's step by step. So those are all fun, but when they take something a little more serious. And then I have a few minutes left. I'll tell you some stories about political work, which I think is very important for people who are going for the employment world, knowing what goes on out there. And I hope someday they can use these reports. A few years ago, Walgreens had a private label second and grocery. Custom cans, just like most retailers have their own private labels. Well, suddenly, we started having cans explode in the stores. They were going to the ceiling, right up to the ceiling. Just like a rocket that didn't have. So we started getting reports from the store managers around the United States. We went back to the manufacturer and said, what's going on? Something's wrong. We've never had this happen before. It's not cold. It's happening all over the United States. The manufacturer looked at his retained samples and found out that a small amount of water had gotten into the insecticide formulation. And that was rusting out a lot of the things. Bam! They were off. We looked at what they had sold, and there were hundreds of thousands of items, particularly midwinter. There was still a lot of sales going, mostly southeast, southwest. What are we going to do about this? Think about it. Well, you could say, drink can't die. That's not going to work. Mr. Jones walked down the street there. Mr. Jones did what the bus said. Mr. Jones in the car, and we thought very quickly. We decided we would go into everybody's home and pick those cans. We hired, in most places, waste management around the United States, very low. We set up a special program, literally made our customers aware on television, radio, If they had a can of ambrosia, didn't ask them to look at the syrup until the expiration. That's another opportunity for an accident. But you tell us the company to home. We didn't have to say, EPA is established. Yes, that's part of that ethical portfolio and how build in thinking of all your employees. Has anybody here read Good Great?
In college?
Yes. There's a description in there of Walgreens. I can take a little bit of liberty with this since I worked there during the years it covers in that book. One of the things I think he missed, which I always found immensely inspirational, I think is why over that period of 20 years the company went through, was that when you would come in the morning, mind you, Mr. Walgreens was chairman there, the president, ate in the cafeteria with us every day. They were very much part of the company. Everybody knew who they were. Everybody saw them. You'd come in early in the morning, and there would be somebody sitting in the president's office from the building maintenance there. Telling them about what was going on with the company. And no one, the vice president or the executive director of that division, never felt any need to be concerned about what was going on behind your back. And as you know, that's a hard thing to train my employees in. They're talking to the president. You know, what's he saying? Is he saying something about me? Very different mentality. The mentality of real trust, where anybody in the company could talk to senior executives about anything that they wanted to. And I think that was one of the keys that overall umbrella of trust, the sense of corporate responsibility that drove the company upwards. Let me stop there. We got about 5 minutes. 10. I want to talk a little bit about political corruption, but first, there may be some questions somebody'd like to throw at me. Come on. You guys have been inspired tonight. Well, yes, ma'am.
How do you, with your fund for collateral, how do you keep that from being abused?
Good question. The question is, with the Walgreens Benefit Fund, how did we keep it from being abused? Well, we had a panel of experienced people on the board of directors, and we met each month. And we had an application form that had to be first filled out by the employee, and then their manager. Many of them were store managers because these catastrophes usually happen to people that are not making a lot of money. The store manager would have to verify and fill in information. We would have them provide not only their earnings, we would have them provide their bank records, other things like that. So we went, and the board that I sat on was made up of accountants, tax people, do-gooders like myself, and a good solid group of people. We had cases where it was someone that's in a nursing home who had lost all of their income. Well, we knew if we gave the person in the nursing home a lot of money, the nursing home would just take it and use it for further expenses. It's not a criminal thing, that's normal. So what we did is we set up a very small stipend that we'd send to that person each month. But then we'd have one of our retirees go in and check on a monthly basis and see how that person was doing to make sure if they were alone, something wasn't going wrong. So it was sort of to kind of build a system that worked. Yes, sir?
How many other distribution centers
They haven't converted any of the pre-existing centers. The second one that was built in Connecticut opened last year, and there's a third one coming. They have selected a specific site. It's going to be here somewhere here in the West, because the other distribution centers in California and Arizona, they need something to cover the north part of the United States. But it will be built the same way. Not only in building the distribution center, if you are interested in that field, which is a terrific logistics distribution is a terrific career. We changed the site of the distribution center. Instead of making it long, we built it up, and we reduced the footprint and raised it from 5 stories to 10 stories. And with that, everything that is 10 stories up has to be done by computers. That made it very easy for these people to work in that environment because it was less physical involved and more intellectual and technical involved. And so that's how we'll do. Yeah.
What would you recommend to these students who are interviewing for jobs? What question they could ask during that interview to determine if a corporation or a company has a good sense of corporate responsibility?
Right. I think it's a fairly valid question. I'm not certain I thought so much about it when I went to Walgreens. I will tell you an amusing story. I'm running out of time. I had worked at Walgreens in one of their stores in 1963. It was the worst job I've ever made. I at least that's what I tell. It was worse than when I was in the Army for a couple of years. So when Walgreens asked me to move to Chicago or from Washington, D.C. to Chicago, it's going to be interesting. I think every company can't do what Walgreens because Walgreens is unfortunately company. But first I would look on the internet, look at their corporate website, and see what they're telling people about what they do. So that's the first thing. Or just Google, to see what's out there. Because there usually be something out there. It's very small thing. But then when you're there, you're armed with that intelligence and likely ask interviewers a little bit about. I think we should be bold to say I'm interested in right now. I think that's very important. You don't have to. I saw you were doing this, things like that. Draw that out. They want and they're really doing something there. They'll have to know about it. They're going to want to talk to you. I think that's very good. Anybody else? Missing the side of the room here. Shrinking violence. Okay. We need a break now.
If you want to keep going, keep going.
Does anybody want to hear a little bit about these are true stories. They happened long enough ago the statute of limitations for others. But these are real things that happen. Chicago is known for it's always been that way. It's still that way. It's a great city to live in, but its background, unfortunately, the political infrastructure there is set. Back in the early 80s, Walgreens was the largest liquor retailer in the whole world. In the early 90s, we got out of it. We had more liquor stores than anybody else in the whole world. It was a very important part of the business. Does anybody in here work in a Walgreens store? Not like a mom. And if you know anything about municipal law, there are always restrictions on alcohol liquor stores, churches, schools, daycare centers. These laws have been around for a long time. Really would have similar laws about location of liquor stores. Well, a group of aldermen came to us and said, we're going to change the ordinance so that it goes to 400 people. It's going to be 1,000. So we went back to our desk, got on our maps, and figured out we would never be able to hold the store again. Now, in my electrical, I came out of That's called a fetcher, F-E-T-C-H-E-R. What does that mean? Fetcher bill means that I'm going to scare you so much that you're going to give me money. You're going to fetch me money. Stuff like that. Well, they did it. They passed the city ordinance. A couple weeks later, people come to us, okay, now what we're dealing with, give us $90,000. And I sat there and quietly didn't change my facial expression very much and got up and walked out. Now, you have to understand. And you say, oh, let's go to the FBI, let's put a mic on, let's get all this stuff, right? And that's absolutely. But Chicago politics doesn't care. That's another big thing that happens all the time. All their free government. So you're thinking. And they have one member they punish you. Not individuals who go and play for a while. So what did we do? Well, we knew, the President and I knew we weren't going to get free money. And we went to our executive committee and said, may not be able to build it in Chicago. So we sat it out, we split it out. And finally they realized that we weren't going to get it. But we had to make a decision. We turned it. Right or wrong, we said no. Our decision-making process makes the anger hell. Reality. Makes something in a foreign country or a different place. Colorado is very different. We knew that we would be punished going forward forever. So we said no money, let it out, and eventually they were killed for it. Because they knew it was also a small business, private business. And that's just a simple example of something you've got to struggle with and make a decision on. And the reality is that makes a lot of things don't have a reason as a threat. But you don't ever want to do it. What I learned is that almost 40 years later, as I politics, those people always get it. Every corrupt politician that I know all in prison. So you can outweigh them. And they get their trouble. Most good, hard workers. But our culture here in the country is acceptable. Thank you.